bright and pink because of how hot this place is right now. That's what happens when it's hot here. You might get some audio
And we
doubling.
are live. Welcome to the First Layers Saturday night live stream. I forgot what we were doing. Yeah, this is me. I'm Richard. And guess who's with me tonight? Look at this guy. He showed up.
Hey, how's it going?
That was kind of a
It's not
bad
for sake
dig,
of
but
trying. Yeah, well, it's not for the sake of trying. See, here's what my main camera looks like. You know, seizure warning here. So I'm trying to fix that right now. So we had a panic webcam set up and all that good stuff.
can you bring your audio up just a bit, Brian?
I will try. I have to get up and cozy with my mic here. So let's see if I can get that out of frame for you guys.
All right, so who do we
That might-
have? We've got Rex Waldy, Mark L. Baker, John Kitchen, Art Eckstein, Akhenaten Ramses. I hope I probably butchered the hell out of that one. We got Meatball, hello from Oregon, he says. Then we've got DePark88, David Sell, Chris Collada, David Harmon, 3D Printing PA. So we got a few people in our chat this evening. Just before we get started, I want to let you know that we do have Super Chat turned on. And if you guys want to use that, go ahead. If you like the information, shoot us some coffee money. It always helps to keep things going around here. Who do else? Hey, there's Ray Millard. Ray Millard's there. Now, for anybody who doesn't know, I've been under the weather for a couple of days. I haven't been in the shop since Wednesday. I developed a severe migraine on Thursday and it carried right through till late last night. This morning I still had a really bad headache, so I didn't go in and do recording for next week. But I have one episode I can dig out and that'll work. Hey, there's 3D Medic Vince and John Mack, TK's 3D Printer. Hello, everybody. Good evening. So what are we talking about tonight? I haven't got a freaking clue, but we're going to answer your questions. We got Brian in the house tonight to answer some more of your technical stuff. And let's start with Ramsey's question. I'm just going to say Ramsey's because I'm going to butcher the first name again. First question out of the gate, are resin printed toys safe? Safe in what regard? To put in your mouth? No. I would not put resin toys in your mouth. Are they safe to play with? Depending on the type of resin that you're using. If it's something that is more brittle, then I would say no, because those sharp edges can injure your child. If you don't want to give resin toys to a baby because, of course, resin has all kinds of nasty properties to it. So let's just say no.
Yeah.
Are resin statues safe? Yes. Are resin toys safe? Let's just say no. Who else do we got here? We got Kevin Conrad. Greetings from Maryland, USA. There's Brian Cox, Abyss 3D. Hey, Richard. Chris from Abyss 3D here. Hello, Chris. Richard, you're modulating on your audio, and I should not be modulating on my audio.
No, it was modulating on my side too. I wasn't sure if it was making through the stream.
Well, let me see if I just got to change the battery.
Maybe. Well, I suppose I can talk about the 3D printing learnings of the week there and questions that have popped through via various private messages and stuff I've been dealing with. So, first and foremost, I got a message today asking, about some issues with installing a thermistor. So, here's a simple way to tell how you've messed up your thermistor. If the temperature goes extremely high, then your two wires are touching each other and you've shorted the connection. If it's showing up as 0 or minus 15, the wires are broken and there's no current path. So if you install it, if you see a dead short, the first thing I would check is any pinch points on that cable leading right up into the hot end. In this case, I think it was probably the screw on one of the older E3D hot ends. And then if you unscrew it and you loosen it up and it drops to a really low temperature, well, there goes that camera again, then it's probably you've broken the wire, which is unfortunate. It means you probably have to replace that. You can also check your connections, but generally it means the thermistor is broken. So advice of the day, buy more than one thermistor at a go because you never know if you'll install it bad. The other one I
I,
was dealing with this week was,
I will agree
go
with
ahead.
that. Do more than one. Buy more than one. I usually buy them in 2s or 3s.
Pretend you're ordering from China. That's what I do. Order at least 5 of everything.
Yeah, yeah, that's about the way to use.
Yeah.
All right, so
Now,
we've got Guido's in
uh,
the house. He's in the Netherlands. Hello, and there's Kevin Conrad, Jared Armstrong, Hopinaki. So I think we got everybody. John Mack,
yeah,
yes. Okay, great. We got everybody. All right, so let's get into some of those questions of the week because I've had a few myself. So let's finish up with you, Brian. What other questions did you get this week?
sure. So the other one was from our good friend Jess, our other little producer hiding somewhere, hopefully in the background and mocking me right now. She encountered the exact same issues I encountered when I bought the Creality cable extensions because we built an enclosure around her CR10 and the control box no longer was within a reasonable position. So we ordered those extension cables and it wouldn't home, it wouldn't do anything. So what I did was I disconnected all the extension cables and I separated them out. I split up the motor cables from the end stops. And all of a sudden everything started working. So what I'm thinking happens there is the noise that's broadcast when you run a stepper motor actually creates a magnetic field and is picked up on the return line from your end stop, making it think it homed. So if you do buy the Creality extension cables for your steppers and you're having issues, take off what I call the Chinese finger trap, which is your wire shielding there, and separate out the stepper and end stop cables. And that probably will fix all your issues with it. If not, there are other electrical issues, but I mean, I'm going to advise right off the bat, just don't buy that kit. Just build your own if you can. But if you're stuck and that's the only thing to do, separate them out. They are too close together.
There you go. Well, this week I encountered a really interesting thing, and I broke my first nozzle this week.
Oh, wow.
I now belong
Now,
to
when
the
you
Hercules
broke,
Club. Well,
now
what
you got to
happened?
explain how you broke. Yeah.
I'll explain how it happened. So, I was running some of the Iron or Aeron filament. I could never say that name right.
Urion.
Arion, whatever it is. I was running that filament at the top of the week and found that I was getting a thermal shutdown.
Okay.
So I thought, why am I getting that? And here's what really got me was that the print was about 80% finished when it went into thermal
Oh,
shutdown.
no.
Yeah, thermal runaway is what I got. So after closer inspection, I noticed that the cowling that goes around the hot end on the CR10 was slowly making its way through the heater cartridge wires. So I'm assuming that's what happened.
Oh.
They were slowly fraying. So I'm assuming what happened was it eventually just sparked and went into thermal runaway. Okay, so
Interesting.
I figured, okay, well, let's take it all apart. So I did. And once I took it apart, I put it all back together. I got my hot end all together, heated it up, put my socket wrench onto the nozzle, and just went a little too tight and snapped it right off. So that cost me a new throat, a new nozzle, a new block, and this is the Micro Swiss blocks nozzle setup. And it also cost me for a new heater cartridge and 2 thermistors because I broke the first one.
Weird.
So, what's with my
Richard,
audio?
Did you have a second mic on by chance?
I don't have a second mic on. I shouldn't have a second mic on. How's that? Is that better?
That's seeming good so far. Yep.
Yep, I know exactly what happened. The Camlink
Was it
4.
me?
No, it was the Camlink 4K was sending audio.
Oh, well, you
when
got
it
it
shouldn't have
working,
been.
so that's a bonus.
Yeah, yeah, it's working. So there shouldn't be any modulation now. It should all be fixed. So
Yeah,
yes, I
unlike my
broke the
issue.
nozzle off. I sheared it right off the
Nice.
block, and learned my lesson about heating things up too much and adding too much strength to them. Now I know exactly where my strength lies when putting those things together. So there's something to watch when you are putting together your nozzle, guys. Take your
Mhm.
time, heat it up to about 210, and just give it a quick little an eighth of a turn if you can. If you can't move it anymore, then don't move it anymore. That was the problem that I made and I had. So, yeah, there we go. Now, what else came up this week? Oh, yes. This brings me to another point that came up this week with hot ends. And this seems to be a regular problem with hot ends is people aren't paying attention when they're putting their hot ends together. We had 2 customers this week come into the store. Both did the same thing, destroyed their E3D V6s because they didn't do the proper tightening after they got it all installed by heating up the block and giving that nozzle a little bit of a tighten so that it seats well. So of course they had mushroom clouds of plastic coming out of every nook and
Oh,
cranny that it could come out of and destroyed hot ends. So the thing here is before you put your filament in, make sure that you've gone through all of your checklist and make sure that you've tightened that hot end down properly and that nozzle is seated correctly after it's been heated up so that you don't run into those issues and cost yourself buying another $80 hot end.
and from wrecking several hot ends myself, do not use pliers to tighten that hot end nozzle. Get a proper wrench.
Yeah, I
It's
use a
amazing how
socket.
much further it will turn with a wrench.
Oh yeah, I use a socket and I think it works just great. Who else we got here? We got the High Tech Redneck. Good evening, Canadian Maker Project. Meatball, I think we said hi to Meatball. There's Johnny Gardner. And we got Michael Fox. Not Michael J. Fox, but Michael Fox. So
He'll
the
do.
super chat is turned on, guys. We no longer have Patreon, just to kind of bring you guys up to speed on that. So anybody that is on here that was a Patreon subscriber to us, Patreon is now gone. I'm just waiting for the final word from Patreon for the shutdown of the page. It won't be permanently shut down, so it goes into a you guys can't find it anymore state, but it's still there for me if I decide to reactivate it later on down the line. So if you haven't yet canceled your Patreon subscription to the First Layer, please go ahead and do so. We're going to be using the super chat more often here when we do our live streams. We still have Buy Me a Coffee that's still available to you.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's about it. So we've got t-shirts still at our what do you call it there? Our Teespring store. We will be putting in another affiliate pretty soon, so you'll be able to go to our Amazon store and pick up stuff from our Amazon store. Now, if you go and buy something from our Amazon store through our links, we get a little kickback from it, and it really helps out the channel. So this is how I pay for the channel. Yes, I work for Spool 3D, but I only work for Spool 3D part-time. So it's not a lot of income, and that income goes into my home. And whatever I can squeeze out of the show that doesn't go into my home goes into helping out the channel. So we really appreciate everybody's help there. What do we got here? The wrench that comes with the Ender 3 was poor tolerance, and it strips the nozzle. Yes, it does. It is very poor tolerance.
Yeah, this thing, I don't even know if I still have it in the bag. I think I got rid of it. It's a hunk
Oh,
of
I got
junk.
one right here. There's 2
Yeah.
wrenches that come with the Ender 3 and the CR10. Here's the first one, and there's the second one.
And you're
And
absolutely right. The tolerances are off, and they're not even good for any other nozzle.
no, they're not.
If you try and put an E3D hot nozzle on there, it's about like half a millimeter smaller or something. It's just terrible.
Yeah, it is terrible. It's absolutely horrible. So we're going to open it up to everybody's questions this evening. We are going to, have you guys had much to do with 3D scanning? Hoppy Naki's asking. Now, I've done a little bit of scanning. I now have, after we had the great crash of 2019 in my office this last week, we do have the software reinstalled. We are using Skinect. We're using an Xbox 350 or 360 Kinect version 1 to do scanning. It does a really good job of scanning people. I'm not so sure about rooms yet. I'm still working on that. Not so sure about objects yet either. I'm still working on that. But I got to tell you that scanning with a 360 Kinect, it's a little awkward because it's so big, but it does work really well, and it's a very inexpensive solution to buying a $500 scanner or a $200 scanner. You're buying the software in this case, which is about 120 bucks US, but you know, the Skinect software is amazingly powerful. And if you've got a machine that will match it, like I'm going to say an i7 with 6 or 8 cores, you're doing well. If you've got an i9 with 6 or 8 cores, I think you should be fine.
Yeah, I've experimented a lot. I actually got a hold of one of these, which is the Intel RealSense sensors that came around the same time as the 360 scanner, and it looks, you know, the technology was kind of there, but it wasn't refined for 3D scanning yet. It was more so for just like putting in a room and doing depth analysis, exactly what the Kinect was designed for, right?
Right,
I
right.
also have the Xbox One guys set up behind me actually, but the resolution is better, but nobody's developed scanning software for it yet. And there's a lot of complexities with that. My downside is the stuff I want to scan is very small, very high detail. And unfortunately, none of the sensors out there are built for that. So, you know, just bear that in mind with 3D scanning. You're going to need a $30,000, $40,000 scanner to get small level scans. But if you're looking for big stuff, yeah, that Kinect is great. And maybe we'll put that on the back burner for something coming up.
Yeah, okay, so we got Alteracious. I'm not sure who Alteracious is, but there is a question here. If you program a bootloader for a stock Ender 3 Pro controller, does it erase the stock firmware? You want to cover this? Yes, yes,
Yes
and
and
yes.
no. Well, yes. I mean, it erases part of it, which makes it non-usable, if that makes
That's
sense.
correct. Yes.
So, without getting into boring infographics, you know, and I'll do maybe. I don't even know if it's worthwhile to do an episode on it. It's kind of boring, but the way when you have, let's see, which board is this? Is this a CR10S? I think it is. Yeah. So the CR10S board here has the larger chip right here. That's the Atmel 2560. Now, with these little Atmel chips, it's all comes down to available program memory. And the 2560 has a lot more storage, but it has less RAM. And you don't really care too much about RAM in this case, it's more about storage. So this chip here can store the entire Marlon firmware, plus it can store a bootloader for you to flash it. Now, when you go to the Ender 3 board, which I don't think I have any in front of me here, but that board, actually, oh, look at that. Aha. I do have one here. This guy here, the 1284p, has half the storage of the 2560 on the CR10S board. So, when they want to fit Marlon on this guy, your choices are strip out a bunch of features or take that little additional program memory that would be used by the bootloader and use that for runtime. Now, there is a benefit to doing that, okay? If you do not have the bootloader on here, if you connect and disconnect a USB device or USB into a computer or to a Raspberry Pi there, if there's no bootloader, it's not going to auto reboot because that's one of the features built into the Arduino bootloader. So as a result, you can unplug or have a bad connection or something and it won't restart your printer. However, again, if you need to flash something to this all of a sudden now, your only option is to go to this little 6-pin header, which is commonly referred to either as an ISP or an ICSP. It basically means in-circuit programmer. So yeah, you're gonna lose your firmware to answer your question, but at the same time, you can probably compile that Marlon firmware from Creality and strip out. I think we just stripped out the boot screen, and that version will load. But at the end of the day, if you're gonna go as far as to flash that bootloader, put on a newer version of Marlon, set up the basic features, get the printer running, and then see how much room you have left. So hopefully that doesn't dig too deep into that.
As a doctor, I seldom
Oh,
need more than these.
yeah. I didn't know we were gonna do that kind of exam of a board.
Oh, yeah, well, you know, sometimes you got to get up in there.
That's very true. You get knee deep into the firmware.
There
Or
we
elbow
go.
deep, I should say.
Elbow
There
deep.
you go.
You're probably wondering why I'm putting these on. And the reason I'm putting these on is so that I can, no, I'm not going to say that because we're on live.
Oh boy.
Yes, no, I'm dealing with this at the moment. So let me grab this. Bring this
That's a
over
tub
here.
of ice cream, Richard.
It is.
I'm just gonna look at the questions here. Kevin Conrad, after loading Marlon on a CRX, I've noticed the extruders are reversed. The right and left are flipped. I also noticed the extruders were feeding backwards, which I found a fix for. Well, if both of your extruder motors are feeding backwards, which is definitely a common thing, you could fix it in firmware, but I would be lazy and I would just swap the cables on the board. So, Richard, what do you got there?
I have a series of little D&D people.
Ooh.
All done at 28 millimeters on the Wanhao Duplicator 7 Plus. And they just finished just before the show started. So I had them hanging there, just kind of draining off the build plate. So now I have to take the build plate and get all these guys off and get them into the ultrasonic cleaner. And then we will take off the supports.
That looks really awesome. I won't lie. They've been listing that Anycubic Photon for extremely cheap on Amazon up
They
here
have.
in Canada. And it's been so tempting to jump on one.
They have been
But-
listing it at a very, very low price. Now, I'm going to just switch my cameras here real quick. You keep talking.
Yeah, I was just looking.
Okay,
It's
there you
just so
go. You
cheap.
keep talking now. I'm going to bring this over
so I'm just
here.
going through the questions here. Johnny Gardner, is Marlon 2.0 good for Ender 3 and CR10S yet? Yes. Yes, it is. Though there's a lot of new code in there. So I've been running Marlon 2.0 on production machines in various revisions for months on end. It's been very rare that I've come across a bug that I had to upgrade the firmware, and usually it was a result of me tinkering with a new feature. So, is it ready? It's pretty darn close. The feature frozen aspect is in, so give it a try now. Just make sure if you're having some troubles. Yeah, everyone's telling me to jump on buying one of those. I want one. It's a matter of, number one, the scent. That's always been an issue. I need to build some kind of place for it to sit where the smell won't be an issue. Number two, it requires a lot of cleanup. You know, the problem with it is you have to look at usage, right? In my case, with all my printers here, I get a lot of usage out of them, so it makes it worth my while. But for the number of things that I need to print in high detail with resin, it's probably more cost effective for me to farm that out to somebody who has it properly set up. Like our good friend Richard, which it's going to come eventually. I'm sure I'm going to put him to work. No. Well, it was worth a shot.
Now you guys are going to look
I'll
at this. You guys are going to see this shot in just a second, and you're going to wonder,
Yeah.
what is that stuff?
Well, Alteracious is commenting, nice ultrasonic cleaner.
Yes. It is a nice ultrasonic cleaner. It's just a little one. It's not a very big one.
That's all you need, right?
Yeah, that's all you need. So the ultrasonic, I'll go back to that shot for a second.
Yeah. Looking pretty, don't mind me.
Okay, so what you guys are seeing here is I have a bucket here that has Resin Away in it. And Resin Away is a product by these guys. This is it here, Resin Away. Okay. This stuff is freaking expensive for 2 liters in Canada. For 2.3 liters or something in Canada, this stuff is $62.
Ooh.
Yes. This stuff,
wow,
which I have 3.78 liters of, is $10. And apparently, it does just the same thing. So I've got these.
Do all your prints come out smelling like Pine Sol?
They will. So I'm just going to take these little guys off of here. I'll do that over here.
Yeah, give us the breakdown step by step of how you're supposed to remove these off a build plate.
Okay, you should get under them, and they should just release fairly easily. There we go. You'll see I'm putting them into this tub as I'm going along.
I'll just quickly say here on the side too, the number one issue I have with resin printers is you don't know if the prints failed until like 8 hours in.
That's very true.
Because everything is submerged and you can't get a camera down in there. Bear in mind, the first 3 or 4 millimeters, I think it is, at least, of your print will be submerged for the first 8 or 9 hours. So if it didn't bind on that first layer and you have to rely on kind of listening for a little clicking sound to hear it popping off the plastic with every layer, is basically just wait and then look and just see a missing blob and a bunch of junk floating around in your resin bath.
Now, some of these guys stick on really well.
Yeah, they did that. Well, that's probably a good thing, though.
And you definitely want to wear gloves when you're doing this.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can get resin everywhere. So for now, I'm just going to take this guy and I'm going to put him back where he was.
Now, the one thing Richard also didn't show here is the reason why we're able to show this right now is because it came right off the machine. If you pulled that out and left that in that room for an hour or so waiting for the show to start, then all that resin could start to cure on the model, and then you lose all your detail.
That's true. Now, you'll see I'm transferring them. I'm just giving them a quick little shake here, transferring them over.
TK is saying it's about 1 hour before you know if it's printing. TK, do you have an Anycubic? Because I found it was a lot longer for me to actually see in there, but it all depends on the lighting you have too.
Now the beauty of this, the way that I'm doing this, is that I'm kind of giving them kind of a little bit of a pre-clean first. Oh, there's another one still in here. There's actually 2 in here. I'm kind of giving them a little bit of a pre-clean first. You guys, you can see that. And now I can get rid of these gloves. Because I don't need to use this stuff anymore. Okay, those gloves can go down there. Now we're going to turn on the ultrasonic cleaner. We're going to hit go. And there it is. It's going to do its thing.
That's so cool seeing the wisping.
Yeah. So now that's all I need to... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, is that ultrasonic cleaner just a... is that just a... what do you call it there? A jewelry one?
Yep.
Awesome. So yeah, just so you guys know, don't go buy an expensive ultrasonic cleaners. Just get a basic jewelry one, because as you can see, you don't need a big build volume. Richard, show your hand there by comparison.
There you go.
See, it's a very tiny little one, but that's all you need.
So I'm going to leave that go. It's going to go for about 6 minutes. I'm going to leave it in there for about...
Your camera link mic came back on.
There we go. Okay, so...
I'm going to try and take... Let's see if I can take this
Aurora Noodle. Hello, Aurora Noodle. Yeah, so what we... Go ahead.
I'm just trying to see if I can set this guy up briefly while we wait. See if I can get you guys a visual representation of what a 3D scanner sees. I think that's probably.
So all I'm going to have to do with this once it's done in the ultrasonic cleaner, yeah, take in mind that Richard has large meaty hooks. Yes, I do. This ultrasonic cleaner is only about 8 inches by 6 inches by 4 inches. It's not very big. But it's big enough for the stuff that I'm going to do on it. And my plan is to do stuff like this. Like the heads that I paint for different models. So, and finer detail stuff like hands and things like that. And once we get into it and I learn a little bit more about this process, I'm going to teach you guys a little bit more about it as well as I learn. And then we can all learn together, so to speak. Let's see, what else do we have here? I'm just seeing if we've got any... You know, I haven't had a real problem with the smell of resin. Canadian Maker Project made a little note there. I'm using Monocular 3D Rapid. Now, I did start with the Wanhao resin, which, believe me when I tell you, that stuff stinks.
That's a zoom button.
That's a zoom button. Holy Christmas. That's scary. Hey, there's Ray Emsley.
Hitting the wrong button.
So, just so you guys are aware, different resins have different potencies, I guess is the best way to put it. Because when you're dealing with resin, yes, you should wear a mask if the resin's too much. I've gotten away from using alcohol to clean my prints, and I got to thank Clayton for that, Uncle Jesse, for those of you that don't know who I'm talking about. Uncle Jesse just did a video a couple of weeks ago on different cleaners because he had seen a post on the one of the sites for the Elegoo Mars, I believe. He had seen on there, and so he tried Simple Green, Mr. Clean, Mean Green, and alcohol. Did the same 4 pieces or same 3 pieces on for each batch, and for him the best one that got all the resin off was of course the Mean Green, but second to that was the Mr. Clean. Now I got the Mr. Clean because I couldn't find the Mean Green. I could find Simply Green, but it was $5 more for less material. So I decided, well, let's just stick with the Mr. Clean. It's $10 for almost a 4-liter jug. That'll go a long way because you don't have to change this after every, I guess every cleaning of your 3D prints. You're going to change it when it gets really bad. What I really like about this is that it's got a little basket that you can take out, and it's got a lid. So I can put this lid on, and look, they're done. Apparently they're done.
Wow.
So I'm going to pull them out, and let's see if I can find a pair of tweezers here. Got some kitchen roll on the table. I'm going to move the mic back to the shot back to the overhead. You guys just talk amongst yourselves here for a minute. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fighting away on my side, trying to figure out this hidden thing.
So we'll grab the first two, have a look at them. Now those don't look bad. Set those down. Now, one of the things I'm learning about 3D printing on a resin printer is that before you go and cure them, you want to take off all of your supports. And the reason I'm not wearing gloves here anymore is because, quite frankly, you don't really need to wear gloves with Mr. Clean. It's not going to damage your skin. Although I guess some people might be allergic to it. And man, do these smell amazing. So I'm going to pull these all out of here. There's quite a few of them, actually. You want to remove your supports before you put it into its final stage. Anybody else in there? Nope. So let's put the lid back on. Let's turn it off and we'll put it off to the side. So there they all are. I will bring that camera in a little bit closer so you guys can see the detail on these. I don't know how well that's coming out. Maybe I'm a little too close. There we go. We'll just come up a little bit. There we are. So you can see there's quite a bit of detail on these little guys. Now if I take the hairdryer and not drop it on the floor, and give that a little bit of a dry. There, now you guys can see. Yes, can you guys make that out okay, or is that too? I guess that's. Brian, can we hear you?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, okay.
I'm just quiet while I'm clicking away back here.
So that doesn't look too bad, this little guy. So what I would normally do now is I would come along and I would take off all of these supports. And a lot of times you can just take them off with a pair of tweezers, depending on where they are, because they're still pretty soft because they're not fully cured yet. And you might want to get in there with your hobby knife or something along that line and clean off the rest of those. But those are done at 28 millimeters high. Now I would certainly make sure these are fully dry before I go and put them in the curing box, which for all intent and purposes is just a small little box. But yeah, that's the way we do resin prints. And now because they are still a little soft, you don't want to handle them too much. You want to make sure that you know, you don't embed your fingerprints into them, so when you go to paint them later, they're a little bit easier to paint. All right, we're back.
Awesome.
So what did I miss in questions?
Nothing much really. Just Mr. Clean is what he's using.
Yes, Mr. Clean is what I'm using. It is a big jug of Mr. Clean.
Yep. Meanwhile, I'm just doing creepy stuff here with the Connect kit, and I'll see if I can transition over to Nightmare Fuel. It is live scanning brine. I throw my arms up, and eventually,
That is creepy.
And arms start to grow out of nowhere. Ah! So, welcome to the fun that is Microsoft Connect. This is the software I have to work with right now to use the Xbox One camera. So weird things start to happen. As you can see, my face is vanishing. All this other creepy stuff is happening. So, yeah,
Now, what program are you using?
this is actually the software development kit from Microsoft.
Okay,
So the key is if I start twirling around, it can actually 3D scan more of me. If I stay
gotcha.
in the same chair. The key is you don't move much. So you can see how creepy it is, but it does have more resolution.
That's true. It does.
Actually, I never tried in this chair. That's really creepy. I might have to keep that. Okay, I'm gonna create a mesh out of that. That's terrifying. But yeah, that's the nightmare that is um, doing development stuff for this. That's why you want to use Skinect. Skinect is built for this stuff.
That is very true.
Yeah, Ron's saying I can make a 3D print of myself. You're absolutely right, I can, and it's nightmare fuel.
You probably will.
I probably will. Yeah.
If I know Brian as well as I do, I think you will.
Yes, probably. After what we've done with you, it seems only fair that I print myself.
That's true.
Now the big question is, will Cura actually load?
Yes, Brian should make a 3D print of himself.
Yeah, Jake's saying every time you switch scenes, the modulation comes back. You got to change your profile, but with all in time.
Yeah, it should be off now.
Oh, that yeah, I can
So I've
crank
started
up
to
the
clean
box.
them up a little bit.
It's so creepy.
So these are quite nice little figures. These are just figures I found. They're called D&D figures on Thingiverse. And yeah, I just found them there, and this guy looks like he's got a big pig nose. So there we go.
All
I
right,
got rid of his pig nose.
I figured out the challenge for you guys. All right, since everyone's going wild about this, since this is so terrifying, it kind of reminded me of something. So I'm gonna try here and freeze myself in carbonite.
Freeze yourself in carbonite. Okay. So TK's 3D print says he still thinks photogrammetry is the way to go. I think photogrammetry, you're right, is the way to go if you want really high levels of detail. I think for the kind of stuff that I do in terms of building props and helmets and things like that, I think the 3D scanning for the Xbox is just fine. You can get a very large amount of detail out of it. If you've got the computer to power it. Now at the shop we've got a Core i7 6-core. Yes, we got a 6-core there. So it's got 16 gigs of RAM. I think if I had a little bit more RAM, I think I'd be able to do the ultra high details or the very high details. And then you get like pores. I could get even more detail than I get already, but I think for what it does, it's a good little program, and if you don't want to spend a butt ton of money on a scanner, that's the way to go. Yeah, you have to have a steady rig, that's for sure. With the Xbox Connect, though, the way that you use it, you don't need to have really a steady rig. What you need to do is be able to move that scanner up and down all the way around your subject so that you can get every point that light is hitting. Now, the other important thing is to have a very well lit room. So make sure that your subject is very well lit and you should be fine. 8700, 32 gigs of RAM, NVIDIA 1070 Ti in my rig. Alteracious, I think you could do it, no problem. I've got the 8700K, so.
Now you can see my creepy live. Oh, geez. Ugh. Yeah, this is on a 1070. I think you'll be all right.
Yeah. I think I've only got a 1660 in the one at the shop. I think that's what I got there. I'm pretty sure.
That is so creepy. If I just keep tapping this, then you can see my mouth move at the same time.
Oh my God. That's creepy.
Right?
Borg out Brian, they say. 3D printing llama. Looks like somebody got some sun. So now these guys are all printed at 50 microns, and they're not bad looking. They're not as close to detail as I'd like to see. The next one I'll be doing is the Alita Battle Angel face. I'm going to redo that one on here. I think I'm going to redo the Rogue head, or not the Rogue head, but the Mystique head, and then see where that takes us. I think I'll redo that one first before I do the Alita head. Brian's just having way too much fun back there.
I really am. There's a model for you. Ah.
Ay, ay,
ay. I look like I'm not feeling too well there, Mr. Stark.
Core 2 Quad, Q6600, 4 gigs of RAM, EVGA 88 GT on a Vista Ultimate 64-bit. Michael, I don't think you can run the Skinect software and get really high quality results. I do not think you'll be able to. That's just my opinion. What do I know? Coming up this week,
new optimizations, that's for sure.
I have one video that's going to be coming out this week on Wednesday. It was going to come out last week, but I didn't get finished it because we had so much stuff going on. So it'll be coming out this week, and yeah, it's not an exciting video, but it's a video. But coming up, we have our review of the Sunlu filament. We're going to be recording that next week. We're going to record our Aeron or Irion or whatever name it is filament. We're going to record filament. Yeah, it's beautiful filament. It's gorgeous. It prints beautiful as well. And then we've got a new 3D printer that we're going to be doing from Longer 3D. They have sent it out. It should be in the studio on Monday. And on Saturday, we're going to build it and show you what it is. So, yeah. Nice. So we got a lot of stuff coming out. Watch for the links to our new store on Amazon. We will have one of those very, very soon. It'll be where you can buy all the stuff that we talk about. Just because we don't have affiliate programs set up with a lot of other people. I trust Amazon. I always have, and anything you buy from Amazon, you can send back. So it's probably a good thing. Palette 3 Pro anytime soon. The Palette 2 Pro, not the Palette 3, but the Palette 2 Pro, I'll be doing another video on that very soon. I'll also be doing a build video on a Prusa Mark III very soon, as well as a supplement video with the multi-material upgrade for it. So that will be coming all very, very soon. We'll be recording that probably within the next week or so. So that's pretty much all I got to say. I'm going to be playing with Resin for today and tomorrow, and Stay home tomorrow. Just make sure I'm in tip-top shape to go back to work on Monday. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell for me. I don't have much more to really talk about today. If anybody's got any questions about the resin, Jesse Foreman, Naomi Wu came out with a great video about how decent 3D scanners are way more expensive than 3D printers and how that the tech needs to become cheaper. I agree with you on that, Jesse. I think that Naomi's got a great channel, and she's got great insight into a lot of things that a lot of people don't realize. So I haven't watched that video, but I will soon. I was trying to get Clayton on the show this weekend. Unfortunately, he was unavailable and we couldn't get him on the show for tonight. But what else we got going on? Hopefully, we'll get Jesse on the show in the near future. We're going to be filming or being on a live stream on the 29th, Brian. Is that right? Or am I just on that, or are we both on that?
Oh, yes, that one. I will try. I will try to be there for it. As far as I know, I'm invited there.
So as far as I know, I will be there on the 29th, and that is on whose channel? I can't remember. He's not in the chat tonight, so I have to look him up. Give me just a second. I have to look him up.
I'm just smoking mesh mixer here. Apparently my face is breaking it, so that's something.
You're not supposed to smoke.
Yeah.
That's bad for you. Where is this young man? I know he's on here. He's in my there he is. The Edge of Tech. I will be on that program on the 29th, apparently, as a guest host. So for all you guys that don't know who the Edge of Tech is, go check them out on YouTube. That is Joe, right? Is that Joe?
Yes.
Or Mike? Jim.
I will.
Jim. It's Jim.
Sorry, I'm really bad with names.
Yeah,
I
so
will
am I.
link the channel in the chat. By all means, go check it
out. Kevin Conrad, I have to thank Richard for the CRX videos. They were a huge help when I was struggling. As soon as I figure out getting the screen updated, it'll be even better. Yes, Kevin, we are getting some more CRXs into Spool 3D. I want to take one apart and make sure that we can actually get an update for that, because apparently there is an update for that screen. You have to put it onto an SD card, and then you have to plug the SD card into the screen by taking off the bottom of the CRX. So I'm going to show people how to do that on a later video. I was never a big fan of the CRX myself, but not one of my favorite. So yes,
well,
we got.
I think it's mixing nozzles in general.
Yes. So we've got the longer 3D video coming up. That'll be in my shop or in my office on Monday probably. UPS phoned me on Friday, so we'll have that probably on Monday. What else we got happening? I think that's about it for now. We are getting very close to 10,000 subs. Every day we inch a little bit closer. I think the last time I checked, we were at 95 and change. Let me just double check here. We're going to see in just a second exactly what we've got. We're at 95.55 officially right now. And so we are only 445 subs away from reaching our next milestone of 10,000 subscribers. And I want to thank you guys for sharing, liking, and commenting down below and subscribing to our channel. It really helps out. And just let those ads play. I know you guys are going to start seeing ads probably midway through some of our longer videos. Just let them play. It's only 5 seconds out of your life. But it all goes to helping our channel. So I do appreciate you guys letting us do that. Other than that, my friends, that's pretty much it. Brian, you got any last thoughts, comments?
Nope, nothing new this week. Just getting printers rolling again and working on Nightmare Fuel Brian over here. So hopefully we'll see an STL soon.
There you go. All right, until next time, my friends, thank you for joining us again this evening. Remember that the first layer is always your foundation to a great print. And keep watching, keep looking to our channel for brand new content. Make sure you hit that bell so you're notified every time we put up something brand new. So until next week, I guess on Wednesday, we'll have a brand new episode. And we'll see you again next Saturday night right here on the live stream. Have a great night, everybody.
See ya.